Okay, ladies, how are you? Nice to see you. Good evening, everyone. We're going to speak about, we're going to continue talking about halachot of Shabbat, laws of writing and erasing. And if we have time, we will continue to another set of laws. So we'll see if we will have the time, we'll do that. Let's start with something, a story that will relate to this melacha. In the time of the Holocaust, okay, so there was this rabbi that was in a camp, and you can understand that it wasn't easy over there. It's labor, it's cold, it's no food, it's no ability to keep mitzvot, you know, it's very, very difficult. And the person in his bunk next to him was another person, but he was very weak person. He constantly was hungry, but everyone was hungry, but it was too much for him. He was weak, he almost couldn't make it. The rabbi was so much stronger, he was built stronger, so he was able to do it. Anyway, one day, the commander of that bunk, if you can call it, called him and his neighbor, and he told them, I have good news for you. Since we have no room in the camp, or we try to transfer it to a different place or something, I release both of you. Wow, that's a great thing. The problem was, it was Shabbat. And if you're going to sign here, okay, he says to the rabbi, so I'm going to release you, you're going to sign here, I'm going to release both of you, and you're good to go. The rabbi started thinking, what should I do? Should I sign on Shabbat? Meaning, if he's not going to sign now, he's going to be released in the evening. He could do Motzei Shabbat, he could wait a few more hours, and then this. So he didn't want to sign. The commander, he was shocked. Hello? You don't want to get out of here? Everyone would die to get out of here. What happened to you? And then he looked at his neighbor, and his neighbor, he wasn't a rabbi. And he would love to sign, but he saw the rabbi and he felt embarrassed. What should I do? So he didn't sign too. The rabbi felt bad for him because he felt that he really needs to get out now, even not to wait till the evening. So the rabbi said, you know something? He says to the commander, I am willing to sign for him. The commander said, are you crazy? For yourself, you don't want to do it, and for your neighbor, you want to do it? He says, yeah, but he needs that. I could hold till the evening, but he needs that. So he was about to take the pen and to sign. So the commander was so impressed. He says, no. It's okay. I will sign for both of you. You just leave.
Wow, that's amazing.
This is a beautiful story about writing and about Shabbat, right? We're going to speak soon about emergency, what happens in the case of pikuach nefesh, life-threatening, if you're allowed to write, how you're allowed to write. We're going to speak about that. But let's start talking about the laws first. So the melacha of writing, okay, it's basically conveying some kind of an idea, okay, and it's expressed usually through writing, by letters and words, right? Or through drawing a picture, some image, okay? And so, this is in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle. Whenever they build a Mishkan, what they used to do, they use the Mishkan is a temporary temple, right? That they could take it from place to place. They had to take it from place to place because they had a lot of journeys, right? So they had to assemble it and disassemble it, assemble it and disassemble it. Whenever they had to assemble it all from the beginning, they marked which wood goes where, which one is going to be on the north side, which one is going to be in the west side, up, down, whatever. They had to mark. They marked it with letters usually, and they had an order, and the order had to be kept. every wood has to be in the right place. So so this is what happened. They used to write letters on the woods, okay, that of the Mishkan. Now, sometimes there was a mistake and they had to erase it, okay, and to write a different letter on it. Aleph goes to this side, Bet goes to this side. They had to erase. So this is the melacha. Kotev and muchek. Kotev and muchek means writing and erasing. If there's a mistake, you erase it in order to write in a different place. Now, from the Torah, to write two letters, because that's how they used to do in the Yereot Mishkan, in the woods of the Mishkan. They used to write two letters. Okay, so from the Torah, it's two letters that are not allowed to write. And but sometimes, and if somebody writes only one letter, so it's a violation from the rabbis, right? It's a rabbinical violation. However, sometimes happens that when you write even one letter, it's a violation from the Torah too. How come? Let's say we have a Sefer Torah, okay? And in this Sefer Torah, we have one extra letter. Now, if we're going to erase this one extra letter, the Sefer Torah will be fixed for, it's going to be a kosher Sefer Torah, we can read it from this. So when you erase one letter, it's a violation from the Torah. Same would be writing. If this Sefer Torah contains all the letters, only one word is missing, and somebody is going to fill up this word and this letter and write this one letter, it's a violation from the Torah. Okay? So this is this melacha. Now, also, let's say you have a paper or you have a parchment and there's a stain on it. You want to erase this stain in order to prepare the place for writing on it. Okay, so not always erasing is just to write, but also if you just erase a stain or something, it's also not allowed. Okay, not only in order to write.
So I want to ask something.
Yes.
Are you talking about Shabbat or?
Of course,
Shabbat?
it's only about Shabbat. Yeah, all whatever I say is only about Shabbat. Okay. So what is not allowed to do on Shabbat in terms of writing and erasing? We cannot use a copy machine on Shabbat, or even to put a copy underneath, and we cannot use we cannot use a stamp on Shabbat. We cannot use a printer on Shabbat. We cannot type letters or words on a computer, okay? And save it in the memory card or something. We cannot do this type. We cannot send a fax on Shabbat. We cannot take a picture with a camera, okay, on Shabbat. We cannot develop pictures on Shabbat. We cannot record voices on Shabbat on a recorder. All this type of, even now, some rabbis said that recording voices, you don't really see letters. So some say it's rabbinical, some say it's a violation like all the others that we mentioned before. So now let's start talking a little bit about details. Let's say there's a book, and in the edge, in the outer side of the book, some letters are written, or some pictures, images, whatever. The question is, are you allowed to open it on Shabbat or not? Or close it? Yes, you're allowed, no problem. Even though the rabbis mentioned there, try not to write on books, and it's not respect for books. Also they say, let's say somebody wants to. Let's say somebody was reading a book and he got to a certain place and he wants to mark where he got to, so next time when he comes to read from this, he'll know when to start. He cannot scratch this paper, this page with his finger or with his nail to make a mark, because this mark lasts, it stays, so it's no good. Then he says, if somebody wants to do folding to remember which page is, like a dog is,
Yeah.
so he's allowed to do that. But he says it's not a respect for a book to do such a thing, even on the regular days, not only on Shabbat. So he says better to have a bookmark than to do such a thing. Okay, just
So we can mark it? I mean, with the bookmark? Can we
bookmark you can book.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? Well, no problem. Yeah, of course. Okay.
What if-
Yes.
Oh, what if it's your book? Can you fold it?
Yeah, you can fold, no problem. Now, if a page was torn from a book, yeah, and you don't have another book like that, let's say, for example, and so you're allowed to put the parts that were torn next to one another. It's not called writing or anything. You put, but don't attach it with a scotch tape or something. Yeah, just to put it together to be able to read from this, no problem. Now, little kids are allowed to play puzzles on Shabbat, because puzzles you put together two parts of an image, of a picture or something, right? You put it together, it's okay to put it, as long as the parts are not sticking so much, attached so much one to each other, so you cannot really separate. You attach, they're attached so strong that you cannot, it's very difficult to separate them. So,
Lego's okay?
Lego is okay for little kids, yeah. But we're going to speak about Lego in the next Melacha, but we're talking now about puzzle. You're allowed to use a combination lock on Shabbat, no problem.
Combination of what?
Lock, combination
lock.
lock, yeah. Now, what happens if somebody in the family on Shabbat celebrates a birthday and there's a beautiful birthday cake? Let's say Mazal Tov is written on it, or Happy Birthday, or Shabbat Shalom, or something, doesn't matter, right? Are you allowed to cut through the letters, cut on the letters, because you're in a way erasing?
Yeah.
So this depends what is the writing made from. If the writing is made from the cake itself, from the batter itself, okay? So sometimes also you have, let's say, a biscuit, and on the biscuit some words are engraved. The name of the company or something is engraved on the biscuit, okay? Whether the words stand out or they go in, doesn't matter. This you're allowed to cut and eat, no problem. The cake depends. If it's made from the cake itself, the lettering, so some would say it's okay, no problem. And if you have a frosting on it that's written congratulations or something, so cut in between the letters, not on the letters itself. But once you put a piece and it gets into your mouth, no problem already. How you can cut, you can eat, you can chew the letter, half letter, whatever, it doesn't matter already once it gets into your mouth. But when you cut in between letters, don't cut on the letters itself. Sarah? Okay. Shoes that on the sole there is also words written, name of the company or whatever written on these shoes. And as you walk on the snow, as you walk on the mud, as you walk on sand, it leaves the mark of the letter, okay? Not a problem to walk on it too. It's okay. You're not planning to do that, and it's okay. Okay, he says that if, let's say, you have a paper that words are written on it, especially words that are not in Hebrew, he says it's okay to wipe with this certain things because sometimes you wipe certain things with a paper, and maybe you think that the words there will be erasing or something. Sometimes there's paper towels that some words are printed there or pictures printed there. He says it's okay to wipe with this as long as we said previous shiurim, you don't squeeze this, no problem. Be careful, he says. Let's say some water spilled on the table, yeah. So don't dip your finger in this and start writing or doing a picture or something. This we don't do. Also, don't do the same on the window. Let's say there is a steam on the window. You can do a heart or a flower or write shalom or whatever you want. Right? We don't do this on Shabbat. Okay. It's allowed to write on air something you want to hint Bella something, right? Where is she? And so you're allowed to hint something and to write to her hi or let out something there. In the air, it's okay. However, also to write something on the table, the clean table, you're allowed to do because there's nothing really. You're not really doing anything. However, if somebody trying to train to write, and he does all kind of letters in the air to see if he does it the right way, if he knows how to write, how to do a script A, if he knows how to do that. This we don't do on Shabbat because you're not allowed to train yourself to write on Shabbat. Okay, so this we don't do. Also, we don't take some kind of an object in between the fingers, like let's say a spoon or something, and draw letters and stuff in the air. And again, especially if you want to train yourself for that. Okay. You cannot sign on a paper with a fingerprint. Sometimes people dip it in the ink, and this is not allowed on Shabbat too. Another thing here. Okay, let's say you want to open a package of food. Just have to be careful not to open. If there's letters there, try not to tear and in between the letters. And if it happens, so it happened. It's okay, but it's better not to. And yes. Now, if somebody, let's say, wrote on his hand before Shabbat, it's better not to do such a thing. But let's say somebody wrote on the hand before Shabbat, is he allowed to wash and wipe his hands on Shabbat now, because it might get erased? That's the question.
If he doesn't do it to erase it, then it's fine.
Yeah.
If he washes it because his hands
exactly, Tira. So if usually in one time that you wash it, you're not erasing it. It takes few times to do that. So if you're not trying to erase it just to wash your hands because you really have to wash it, that's okay. But to wash it very strong in order to erase it, this is not allowed to do. Also, we cannot on Shabbat stick parts of letters on a board to assemble all kind of letters and stuff. Sometimes games for kids or whatever. So we cannot do it, and it's good to teach children from Gil Chinuch, from time that of education, usually 5, 6 years old or whatever. Better not to do such a thing. So what happens now in a case of emergency? Okay. So when the Torah says not to write, usually it's not to write in the right hand, because that's what most people used to, at least, write in their right hand. So in the right hand, now if you have to write in a shinui, for case of emergency, shinui is to do a change, you're allowed to write in a left hand, okay? But that's only for case of emergency. If somebody is a lefty, he should write on the right hand, because this is for him a shinui. There are some people that are able to write in their both hands.
That's what I want to
They are
ask.
not allowed to write.
Maybe they write with their
They can do
feet.
with the
Huh?
feet, yeah?
Yes, so shinui would be with the feet or with the mouth or some kind. So with the shinui, that people could do. Also, writing that lasts for a while, so that the person that you're writing it for saw it, or something that stays for a long time. This is the writing that's not allowed from the Torah. So if somebody really needs to write emergency, so sometimes if he writes, let's say some water or juice, let's say some juice was spilled on the table, and you write with this handwriting doesn't stay. It fades away after a while. It doesn't stay for a long time. Or if you have this pen that the writing fades away, so this is better, of course. I don't know where you're going to find it, but that's what they mentioned, that it's good to do. And some rabbis say that, I told you before, that to write it in the Hebrew, in the letters of the Torah, this is the violation from Torah, but most rabbis says that in any language you're not allowed to write, and to draw and to express any kind of idea by image, by picture, whatever. And this is regarding also if you need to type something on the computer, to do it also with a shinui, maybe with a spoon or with some kind of other thing, but this is regarding writing. Let's okay, fine. We could go to the next melacha. Next melacha, we're talking about boneh vesoter. Boneh vesoter means building and demolishing, destroying. Okay? So before we start, I'll tell you the story about that. Something nice that I saw.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
before you
sure.
go? Sometimes there's like these magnets letters, that they put on the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids can play with this, like assemble like a kind of word with this. But it's not just, all the time they just playing, moving it around.
I think it would be a problem also because you create letters, you create ideas. Yeah, that would be a problem. Now, with kids it's easier because the whole idea of these games is to put it together and to separate. The same would be with Lego and some other stuff. This is what we're going to speak now. That's what they do. They put it on. So little kids, it's okay, but older, better not to. Okay.
Banana grams, the little cubes with letters, and then they play it like puzzle. They put words together. This way,
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
It's
It's a good thing. I don't know. I have to check into it and see if it's okay. It depends which age and everything. We'll do Bezat Hashem one there just for kids games and stuff. So about 70 years ago, something like that, when Israel was in the beginning was established, a lot of people did Aliyah and came to Israel from all over. And Israel had to build new neighborhoods for all these masses of people that coming, Baruch Hashem, from all over. And so in one neighborhood, there was this religious Shomer Shabbat contractor that was working in there. And next to his construction site was another big neighborhood being established by a governmental company. It's called Solel Boneh. It was a very big company, maybe still on, I don't know. So this was a big thing. But he built the next one, the next neighborhood. So they were one next to each other, yeah? One time, this contractor ordered a lot of cement. Now, out of all the commodity that they had to use for this construction, the cement was the most expensive thing. Because they had to bring it from overseas, and it was a very expensive thing. So he ordered a lot, And this order came to him one Friday, came, and so they brought it to the construction site, there, wherever he builds. It came in barrels, huge barrels, okay, not covered barrels, and so they put them, the workers put them in the place to be able to work on it with Hashem the following week. So everyone, they closed the place because it was already Friday afternoon. They had to go home. All of a sudden, the sky became very, very cloudy, dark clouds, and it looked like it's going to rain. Now, it was in the beginning of the summer. In Israel, there's no rain in the beginning of the summer. So no one expected this type of a rain now. And so the workers quickly went, some of them, to the house of the contractor and told him, listen, what's going to happen if those barrels of cement are going to stay uncovered? The rain is going to come on it, it's going to ruin everything. You are not going to be able to work with this anymore. What do you want us to go and cover it? They already went home, they had to come. So this contractor started thinking, if they will go and come and cover, they won't have the time to go back to their house before Shabbat. He didn't want them to violate the Shabbat.
Wow.
So he told them, no, it's okay. You don't care about my investment. You go home and everything should be okay. What could he do? So, okay, fine, they left home. And indeed, that night, so much rain, pouring rain, for some reason, the whole night it was pouring rain. And this contractor, he didn't really want to think about this. He had a regular Shabbat, was happy, singing, praying, Tehillim, whatever, like he does every Shabbat. And then, Motzei Shabbat, he started to get worried, what's going to happen now? We're not going to have any work for the next few weeks until, and it's a lot of money. So he drove to that place to see what's happening. When he came to the construction site, he was astonished. He was shocked. All the barrels of the cement were covered. Pieces of wood, all kind of stones on it. They were covered. He sticks his hand into the cement to see they're dry, they're good, it's not ruined, he can work with this. He didn't understand. He thought Hashem sends his angels from heaven to keep his cement just because he kept Shabbat. Sunday, he realized what happened. Sunday, what did he find out on Sunday? The site next to him of Salel Bone, okay, they didn't keep Shabbat. So they saw that it becomes very cloudy. They sent their workers to go and cover this thing. Now, because it was dark, they made a mistake, and instead of covering their own, they covered his stuff. And that's how Hashem protected his asset, his investment. Just this bracha of Shabbat. It's not a simple thing. Baruch Hashem. So. This is a good thing
It
that
could
we
be
see.
the Arab workers also for Solo Banez, so that worked out well too.
Yeah, יכול להיות. So, okay, what is the Melachot of Boneh, of building and demolishing and destroying? So, how did they build it, the Mishkan, the tabernacle? How did they build it? If not, putting things together and assembling it and putting this and covering. All this job is so... now, in order to build the place, first they have to prepare the ground. If the ground is not straight, they have to straighten the ground. They have to, sometimes there's holes, sometimes they have to fill up the holes, or there's a bump all of a sudden, they have to fix the bump. So first you have to fix the place. Yeah, you have to fix the place. This is number one, a problem. Number two. Then you have to do the construction itself, to build, to put together the walls, the roof, the fence, all these things that if we do this, okay, this is a building and it's not allowed. So whatever is not allowed to build, we are not allowed to demolish. The same way we cannot build, the same way we cannot demolish these things. And another violation that we have in building, he says, is to do cheese on Shabbat.
To do what?
Cheese.
Cheese?
Okay. How do you do cheese?
Oh, the
Milk
How do you do
goat.
cheese? You churn. You
Churn.
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 churn the milk, right?
Churn. You churn.
Churn. The churn it's called. Okay. Fine.
C-H-U-R-N.
So yeah, you have to, I guess, work on the milk a lot, and then it becomes cheese. This is kind of building, and this is not allowed. We're going to have certain laws regarding this in food in the kitchen. We're going to speak about this too. So, what we're not allowed to do on Shabbat, we cannot fill up. Let's say you have a hole in the wall, okay? You cannot fill up this hole. Or in the ground you have a hole, you cannot fill it up with sand or with cement or with anything, with plaster, with anything, okay? This is called building on Shabbat. And so would be the opposite, right? To clean the place from extra cement that you have, because and it bothers you, you cannot really remove it. This is not allowed to do on Shabbat. Digging holes, digging pits in order to put their foundation, or let's say you want to hide something inside. So you know what the squirrels do or something. They try to. So these are the things that we cannot really do on Shabbat. You want to make a hole in the wall, so you make a hole inside. You dig, you drill it inside to put a screw inside. This is not allowed to do on Shabbat. This is called boneh. And now, okay. So let's start talking about what's allowed and what's not allowed. So the same as I started to say before about cheese, yeah? So just to add up with this thing, we cannot make a snowball on Shabbat. We cannot make a snowman on Shabbat. It's an image, okay? And even though these things, they don't last for a long time, because once the weather is going to get warm, they're going to melt, still it's a rabbinical thing and we don't do it. Okay, let's start talking about tools now. Whoever connects, let's say, two pieces of wood together by nailing it, put a nail and connect it, okay, this is a problem, this is not allowed. Whoever tries to fix or to repair any kind of a thing, okay, let's say you have an axe or a knife and the handle is a little bit loose, it's not so strong, and you put a nail into it or something to make it tighter, so you'll be able to use it later on or whatever. This is a violation, this is not allowed. If you have a chair that the foot, one of the legs came out, okay, are you allowed to put it back together? No, because no. Sometimes there's some chair. Let's say you put it and it could stay for a while, but we don't do it because you would like to tighten it stronger, better. You'll probably take a hammer. You'll probably take a nail. You'll probably try to, and so people might, because people might do it. We don't fix a chair or any piece of furniture or anything on Shabbat. Okay, let's say there's a blind that came out of the place. In Israel they have these shutters that are on the rails. They came out of the rail, you cannot really fix it. Or windows came out of the place, or a door came out of the place. Yeah, all these things inside the house, okay, we are not allowed to fix those things also. And now let's say if you have a big cabinet, okay, and there's a drawer inside that you want to put it, we don't put a drawer inside this big cabinet. But if it's something, you have a drawer in your desk and you want to put it together, to put it back in the place, that's not a problem. We cannot insert a nail or a thumbtack, okay? or to attach it in any kind of other way, whether it's with the glue or some other way, in a rack, in a hook, by pressure, air pressure. Sometimes by vacuum, you want, there's these hangers for towels in the bathroom. Sometimes, you know, with a vacuum or with some water, it press it and it stays, right? You understand what I say? So this type of stuff, you cannot use it also. Let's say you have a stander. You know what's a stander? Lectern, where people, the guys, when they learn from stander. Some standers, you have some kind of a knob that you release it or tighten it. When you release it, it becomes higher. When you tighten it, it becomes slower. That's allowed to use on Shabbat to make it higher, lower, because you just something. It's okay to use it. You're allowed to adjust on Shabbat a deck chair or a stroller to any status that you want, manually, of course. Binoculars, you know, this knob that you rotate there, and you know you can see from far, from near, right? This is not a problem to use. If glasses, the lens came out from the frame, okay, you can put it back in Shabbat into place only if it's the easiest thing to do by clicking. You don't have to be so skilled to know how to do that, or to use screws and tiny tools to if it's all these tools, you cannot really use them. But if you just by click it goes back, it's okay, no problem to do this. Okay, there's this spring in the bathroom that holds the paper towel, toilet paper. If this came out, you cannot put it back on Shabbat. Usually we don't need it because we don't use those papers on Shabbat, right? You use tissues, you use cut papers. But I'm just saying, if this thing came out, it says you cannot put it back on Shabbat. Cannot put those rubbers. How do you call those rubbers that you put to protect furniture underneath how you call them? Underneath the chairs. So this you cannot put on Shabbat or remove on Shabbat. We don't do this on Shabbat too. Cannot turn over a baby carriage into a stroller and vice versa if it's done with screws. Okay? If it's just by hinges or changing the hook, po v'sham v'kacha, it's okay. But if it's done by screws, this you're not allowed to do. And now let's go back to the whatever I mentioned to you with the cheese and stuff. We cannot create on Shabbat a heavy mixture by adding, let's say, some water into a pudding powder. You put some water into pudding powder, I guess it becomes something very heavy, you know, or pudding or a powder of puree. Sometimes you put some water and becomes puree. And this potato or whatever, it's not allowed. Or you cannot do a jello on Shabbat.
Baby food.
Jello. Baby food is something else. Jello you cannot do on Shabbat. What's the problem with baby food?
Powder, you put warm water. That's it.
This is something else. This becomes liquidy.
So I have a mashed potato. If I want to add
If
like
you,
a mayo a little bit, I could?
this is not a problem. This is not a problem. We're talking about
Like
a powder that once you put some water on it, it becomes thick. A thick mixture. This is not allowed to do on Shabbat. He says here it's allowed to make a hole in a coconut, the fruit, to make a hole so juice will come out of it. It says it's okay to do. It's okay.
Do you know how much work that is to do that?
You need a hammer for that. How you drill it? You need a hammer for that.
Really? You need to really drill it. Yeah, that's like so funny.
Okay, another thing that I'm not aware of, I'm sorry, he says it's allowed to, okay, some people that have dentures, in order for the dentures to stick to the palate, So you need to put some powder, I guess, to attach it. Huh?
Fixodent.
Fixodent? What is that?
Fixodent, to hold the dentures.
This is the powder?
No, it's
No,
like a
it's
cream.
a cream, I
It's
think.
like
It's paste? I don't know about paste. He says about powder here that it's okay for this to hold it. A paste, it's a question of paste.
They don't use powder now. They
No,
use paste.
I don't know how the paste is working.
New generation.
Huh?
New generation.
I guess so. I guess so. Huh?
Looks like a toothpaste.
It's like a toothpaste.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Are you allowed to use
The
Bluetooth?
question how to do it. The question is how to do. Huh? Yeah. So I guess like you do with the diaper rash, you know, you put it a little bit on there and let it does by itself. Huh?
I think you're allowed. It's quality of life for them to eat.
No, I'm saying it says it's okay. The question is the paste, how to use the paste. So the same way maybe that you put some ointment on the diaper, you know. So I guess this is the way that you could put it. We cannot put oil on the hinges of the door if it's squeaking. This is not allowed to do on Shabbat. We're allowed to open tin preserved cans. Years ago, when people used to open a preserved can, you know, they used to keep it because everything was valuable. So it was so much with restrictions. You know, you have to do a hole in underneath, so you're not going to create a utensil, this and that. Today, most people don't use those tins. You throw them right away or put them in a recycle or something, and so you're allowed to open them. You just mentioned that just don't open it all the way or just half away, so you're not going to create like a thing. But otherwise,
use a can opener?
you can use a can opener.
Really? That's work.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
You're allowed to open. You're allowed to open drink cans. Cans of drink.
Drink
Soda can.
Cokes
Soda can.
or sodas. You're allowed to open that. Not a problem. Just also, let's say you have drink boxes for little kids, you know, juice boxes. Also, it just says don't drink straight from this. Pour it first to a glass or to a cup, and then drink from there. But that's okay. It's allowed to open bottles of wine on Shabbat too, and if it has some plastic paper around the cork, it's okay. Of course, it's better to open before Shabbat, but if you have to do it on Shabbat, it's okay. Whoever needs to open a box of cereal on Shabbat, or a box of matzah on Shabbat, or cookies or whatever, try to open from underneath. When you open it on top, you know, it has it's like you're kind of creating a utensil because you keep using it again and again. So underneath there's no special that's better to open on Shabbat. You're allowed. Okay, in Israel they have plastic bags for the milk. Right? From plastic, sakit. So, shaka b'sakit. So, he says b'shinui, to open it b'shinui, it's okay. Here we don't have it, so whatever. Now we're going to speak a little bit about creating, building a tent. Okay. Why is it so important? Because many times little kids, they play at home. And to build a tent, it's a problem on Shabbat. So permanent tent, of course, it's a problem, but also a temporary tent, it's a problem. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. Whoever builds a permanent tent, okay, it's not allowed from the same bonnet. It's not allowed. Because of this, we don't do also the temporary one because you know, people once they start doing this, they continue. Also, demolishing would be the same problem. So what we're not allowed to do, usually how do you build? You take a pillar of wood or let's say the canvas or whatever it's going to be, and on top you have some kind of a roof and you cover, you spread something on top, you cover, and this is how you do. So this is not allowed to do. But if there's something that you want to build, but it's not, it's temporary, you're allowed to do it if you do it in a shinui. What would be the shinui? How usually we build? First we put the walls and then we put the cover, right? Do the opposite. First put the cover, then do the wall. How can you do that? How can you first build so for this you need more people, of course. Somebody that will spread, let's say, the blanket and will hold it, and somebody will insert underneath the walls. In this case, he says it's okay. Why are we speaking so much about this? Because sometimes little kids, they play with this game. Maybe in the summer, the Shabbatot are very, very long. Parents go to sleep, and kids, they stay, and there's nothing to do, so they invent all kind of games. So they like to play, doing those tents, and to go underneath there. So it's good, the rabbis say, to teach children that came to Gil Chinuch, 6 years old, about 6 years old, to tell them that they cannot really do a ohel, a tent, to build such a thing on Shabbat. If they want, somebody will first hold the blankets for the roof, okay, for the top, and then somebody will insert the chairs underneath, and this is, it's okay. And so in this category, we have all kind of laws. For example, let's say, it's interesting. If kids, they want to play with Lego, they can play Lego as much as they want. But they cannot build a house that inside there is a space of tefach al tefach. Tefach in Hebrew is a measurement. Tefach will be about 8 centimeters. Tefach al tefach al tefach. The width, the height, the length. This they cannot, such a measurement they cannot build. Unless they will first do the roof and then work on the walls. In this case, it's a shinui, it will be okay.
Magnet, it's okay?
Huh?
Magnet.
Could be. I didn't really look into it, could be. You're allowed to open a stroller, or a folding table, or a folding chair, or a folding, sometimes they have a folding bed, or whatever, because all these things were done, prepared, ready already from before Shabbat. You just have to open it. This is okay, no problem. You're allowed to turn over, let's say, a cover of a pot on top of food to protect it from flies or from the heat. That's okay. It's not called bonnet. It's not a problem on Shabbat. Okay, that's something interesting that I heard today. I read it. I didn't understand it, but then I heard Shir from the rabbis, the Rabbanan. It's not allowed to wear hats that the rim of them are also this tefach about 8 centimeters. By Ashkenazim, it's 10 centimeters, and they're hard. Because usually people wear them to protect from the sun. And this, I don't know who's wearing such a thing. People usually don't wear such hats. But this we don't put on Shabbat. People are allowed, they say, to, let's say, take a fan to shade, to shade a little bit on them. Or let's say in shul they spread a talit for the groom, or for a lot of kids, sometimes on a holiday, on Simchat Torah or something. It's allowed to do because people are holding it, but a hand that stays on there, no one holds it. This is, they say, it's not allowed. Umbrellas are not allowed on Shabbatot, not from heat, not from rain. People used to construct umbrellas years ago.
That's why.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. And people used to construct them in the past. Now it became,
What if you open it before Shabbat?
Doesn't matter. No, it's a restriction that rabbis took, not
showing people
Rabbanan, not to use it.
Right? You're still showing people that you're carrying a Shabbat.
Yeah. גם אסור לטלטל, היא צודקת.
רגע, אפשר לטלטל if you have the עירוב on.
No, אסור לטלטל מטריה בשבת.
אסור מה?
אסור לטלטל. You cannot carry מטריה, an umbrella on Shabbat. That's also what people might see.
If it's closed.
Even if it's closed.
Wow, that's good to know.
Now, if you have the outside, the sunshade, how you call it?
Honor.
Awning? That's for the outside, right? In the backyard. So if it's connected to the ground and it's a paved ground, it's okay to open and close it, it says. Also awning for the baby's carriage. If you have it already prepared, ready, whatever, you're allowed to open it and close it. And now I want to explain something. Let's say the baby is at home and you want to put a cover on top of him because you want him to go sleep and you want it to be dark, or it's too windy or outside, or it's too cold, or whatever. Are you allowed to spread on him this blanket or something? Is it called ohel? Is it called to boneh or not? That's the question.
I don't think so.
Hmm?
I don't think so.
So the rabbi says, let's say you want to spread a table cover on the table. That's okay to do, no problem. Okay, you want to put a sheet on the bed. It's okay, no problem. But you cannot put this mosquito net on baby's crib. And but if you or on a carriage, but if you put some of it already before Shabbat and now you just spreading it out, that's okay. So pay attention. If you have a baby at home and you want him to go to sleep and you want to cover on top on the carriage or something, if you had it from before on the carriage, yeah, a little bit open, now you want just to spread it, it's okay. But if you didn't have it before, it's a problem. Last thing about this law, about on the ground, about boneh, building on ground. As we said before, you cannot straighten the ground, okay, so that it's going to be comfortable for you to walk on it or to put chairs on it. We're talking about a place that usually is not paved. You don't have tiles on it. Let's say backyard that doesn't have tiles. We cannot sweep a place like that doesn't have tiles, because then you're going to try to straighten the place, So on some place that's not paved, we cannot really sweep that place. Kids are allowed to play with sand that is dry, okay? This is not a problem. Let's say you have a sandbox, okay? If you designated this sandbox from before Shabbat, this sand inside to play for kids, it's okay. But they cannot play with wet sand, because they could do also shapes. Then there's a problem of lash. Lash is kneading on Shabbat, something that's not allowed, and other stuff. Let's finish with the story that I read from Rabbi Chaim Zaid. He gives usually all kind of stories about Emunah, about Hashgacha Pratit and stuff. So what's happening one Friday in Israel, in north of Israel, a huge accident happened there, car accident, and it created such a big traffic jam. People were stuck there for hours. He said 5 hours some people were stuck in the road, and they need to get home already. And there's no, if you know, in Israel, the north of Israel, some places are very narrow roads, and if a car is stuck there, everyone is stuck behind. So a girl calls the rabbi and tells him, Kod Rav, this is Penina, I guess one of his older students. My father is on his way to the north and he's stuck in a traffic jam. What should we do? He's not going to be home on Shabbat. So he asked her, where is he? She said, next to Yokneam. Okay, whatever. So he calls, he says, I have a friend there. He calls a friend in Yokneam and he says, this guy, he needs a place. Can you fix a place for him? He said, sure, of course, he can come to my house. He prepared his room, prepared extra food, this, that, everything was ready. The guy, Baruch Hashem, comes to his house and he tells him, thank you so much for hosting me. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate everything. I just have one request from you and please don't get insulted because he says, sure, what do you need? He says, well, because of my daughter, he says, I took upon myself to use a generator on Shabbat. He went to Rav Chaim Kanievsky and he told him, my daughter is not getting married. She's already 30. What should I do? So the rabbi told him, if you're going to take upon yourself to use a generator on Shabbat, not to use the electricity, when we spoke about the electricity, we spoke about this in Israel, they try not to use the chashmal of Israel, the electricity. So if you're going to do this, Hashem is going to see Mesirut Nefesh from you, he's going to, B'ezrat Hashem, she's going to find a shidduch. So it's the second week that I'm trying to keep it, and please don't be upset if I won't eat in your house, just because, nothing to do with it, just because. He says, you don't understand. I moved to Yokneam from Zichron about 2 weeks ago, and I'm the only one in all Yokneam that has generator. I bought a new one, and it's unbelievable how Hashem does it sometimes. When you want something, you'll get it. Anyway, he thanked him so much. Whatever, during the meal, they're eating, they're talking. So they start talking about this. He says he has a son. Where is he? He's volunteering in one of the organizations of Israel. And where is your daughter? My daughter also in the Shabbat, she volunteering this, and they start talking this. Apparently, there's the same age, this and that. This is how shidduch happens. Unbelievable, beautiful. Yeah, once you give something from yourself, you see how Hashem pays million times back. B'ezrat Hashem. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. God bless you. Amen. 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 Amen.